What's up, everybody? It's your favorite incesticized favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Hurricane from Trojan Horse, one of these pop-up company type companies. This is all known to me from Joe S. I believe this is supposed to be Masterpiece scaled, which is why it's here. The first impressions and afterthoughts will be on Patreon. That being said, I heard that this transformation is a bit of a bear, or more like a bloody wasp, am I right? But be that as it may, we are still going to give it the old college try. But in order to get there, we gotta first look at accessories. He comes with a blaster. You have the blade down here. You have a kind of like, I think this is just flat gray plastic. And then you have the black stripes painted on the yellow. And then this can maneuver around as well. And this is on its own hinge, which we'll get to. But yeah, I think it's a pretty good looking sculpt. I like how it carries through the motifs of the wasp and so forth. All this stuff moves around, which is pretty interesting. But I don't know why. Why am I so stuck on this? This is weird. Okay, so anyway, yeah, I think it looks good enough. And it pegs into the palm of his hand in typical Masterpiece fashion. However, the thumb is on a ball peg and constantly wants to come off as a result. It can also be stored in robot mode as like a stinger, which I think is cool. I think that works kind of thematically. So with the handle flipped to the other side, you got two tabs there, and then you can apply those to the nose cone to have it sitting at the front of the helicopter, which is nice. He also comes with two blast effects. They're just simple purple translucent plastics. They look nice enough. One has the kind of like point, you know, there, and then the other one is just more like a straight blast effect. That can go right on the gun. And let's talk about the figure. We'll get in tight on the head sculpt for Dennis, and I love it. I love it. I love like the kind of insect-looking texture to the eyes. That's a purple translucent plastic over top of what I'm guessing is silver. Not 100% sure. And then the mask is painted yellow, and then the kind of like antenna are painted yellow with black stripes, and it's done flawlessly. The head itself is basically on a ball peg. The ball peg neck comes down to its separate hinge. Using both, you can get the head up to there. So pretty much the full run. Down a bit, and a swivel, and even a confused Waspinator face. The kind of guts of this figure, like the inside bulk, is this it looks like fully painted silver. It's quite nice, just as we move through. We'll move on to the abdomen. Or torso. We have the purple translucent accents that look nice. We have Tampo paint on the doors and on the front there. We have a waist swivel. We have a ab crunch. As you use the ab crunch, these side pistons collapse, which is nice. It's a nice effect. I thought at first when I looked at it that you would get like a teapot out of it because of those, but not the case, but still good. We'll back out a taste. The arms, very, very, very intricate. They are basically, universals at the shoulder, but then there's a separate joint at the chest that gets you a butterfly forward to a pretty good range and a little bit back maybe. The arm itself, sorry about that. I'm trying to hold on to my streak here, so pardon me. Let's see if I can't, yeah. So you can get the arm out to about 90 degrees, maybe a little bit shy, and then 360 around. You have the translucent windows there. Obviously, some of the paint coming through. All of that looks good. There's a bicep swivel. The separate green piece is on there. You have a double-jointed elbow. This first joint's a little tight, and the second one is a little bit better. Proportionately, it does throw the arm off, but, you know, you could just use the single joint. Let's just take that off for now. You could just use the single joint, and that'll get you beyond 90 degrees. And then you have the yellow paint added to the forearm. The wrists are on ball pegs. That'll get you a swivel. It'll also get you a hinge in out a bit. And then thumb is also on a ball peg and has a tendency to pop off, much like this shoulder armor. The fingers are all on a base pin knuckle, and they will stay, you know, in this sort of formation. They're not individually articulated. And then you have this side piece here with a little couple paint accents on there, which is nice as well. All right, we'll back out now. We'll look at the whole figure. The hips are really the only, you know, the legs are the only thing really left to cover. Once again, the silver details throughout. The hips do drop down, so you can get them out to here, but then you can also drop them down if you should need to for whatever reason. They're basically on universals. You can get them full Monty. Full Van Damme, I say maybe a degree shy. I say we give it to him. And thigh swivel. The paint on the legs is just stellar. It's pad printing paint, like it's all Tampo paint, the black, and then the silver bits there. It's really, really, really well done. And then you have a double jointed knee that gets you past 90 degrees. Tons of little silver accents there, along with the propeller that looks good. And then for the ankles, that's actually the only thing I haven't looked at yet. You can get an ankle tilt down. I wonder. Yeah, I guess this better stay flat. Not really an ankle tilt up, but you do get a rocker. And then the toes actually can be separated as well. And the heel can move to get you a better stabilization point as like a heel spur. So that works nicely as well. And there's a die cast joints in there at the knees, maybe somewhere else. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe at the hips. And there he is from the back. I like the propeller cape. You know, I think that looks pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really, really, really successful, honestly, as an action figure. Let's do some size comparisons. Size comparison wise, I don't really have anything of meaning to offer him with, but there he is next to a Masterpiece car and next to X-Transbot's mini-bot Cliff Jumper. Hopefully that gives you some sort of an idea as to his general size. He's a relatively big figure. So let's get him transformed. These pieces here on his back need to flip up, but in order to get the space to do so, you need to lift up this section of his kind of backpack in general. And this one too. So that's sitting flush, and then you can bring the backpack back down so that it sits flush together. I feel like I said flush too much there. Disconnect the abdomen. It'll flop around a bit, and that doesn't matter, but eventually we're going to need the space. And then we need to move on to the feet. So collapse the heel. And the part with the propeller needs to come down to the bottom, but all this stuff you can just sort of leave out of the way for now. We really just need to make room is what we're doing, you know. So this is supposed to stay tabbed in, but it has a tendency to come undone. So just get this out. Then this piece here slides out, and you can just sort of open all of this up and get it out of the way for now. We're going to handle that next. All right, let's see what we're doing. You need to get this up and around, and we'll turn at the thigh swivel outward 90 degrees. Get that piece out. Connect that. Connect like items. That should be relatively intuitive. And then you got to slide this whole assembly up, and it is a tight little bar. But there it kind of mostly is. And then your propeller blade needs to come down to the bottom, and your fins need to rotate outward. All right, we can flip this up. Easy to get that out of the way. And then we got flaps that need flipping. So just do your best and caulk the rest, you know what I mean? All right, so open that up. And basically, I think it's pretty obvious that you're looking to connect those two sections, and then this will sit on the opposite side. You know? Come on, girl. There you go. Whew. All right, so there's one. Let's go ahead and do the other one since we're right here. It doesn't matter what order you do it in, within reason, of course. But we'll go ahead and get some of this out and about. Did I get that on the other side? I hope I did. All right, there. you want to get this whole armature free. And up. All right. The thigh you need turned outward anyway. Remember, we need to have our propeller down at the bottom, so that should give us a little bit of an idea of where to have the foot. Speaking of the foot, we'll go ahead and collapse the heel into the foot. And all right. This part needs to come up and over. This part needs to come up, but then you need to slide that down. We'll go ahead and sort this one panel while we're here. Up, ball peg, we're safe. We're still maintaining our streak. I'm gonna get that back on and sort it, and we'll pick back up. Back on, collapse in, tuck this piece behind, double joint there, connect that, and that should pretty much do it. And we have this left to sort, so this can come back down and you can open up those fins. And as you can see, this is gonna stick together eventually here, probably maybe quicker than you think, but I wanna make sure this is nice and tight before we try that. So connection time. So you're using the drop down joints to try to get this to go, and we're just gonna try our best and caulk the rest, you know. But yeah, just, I mean, it's a series of tabs and panels and flaps and flips, and you know, this bit there needs to go between those two notches. You know, I don't know why they would have this little piece there, this kind of like almost like an over-under thing. That seems especially obnoxious for no real reason. There. Whew. All right. And I mean, that's generally it. I'll get this cleaned up. We'll move on. All right. So I got it close. It may not be exact, but I got it close. Next, what we're going to do is, if you see this green section there, we want to extend that so that that sits flush. The arms are going to constantly get in your way. But you just want, it's basically an accordion. Everything on this thing is an accordion, including this nose piece, which has to accordion out as well. And then you got to flip the head. This, it's hard to explain, this neck flap out from the cavity it was in, but then you also want the neck hinge that we talked about in articulation to be sitting straight up and down. So it was sitting flat, now it's sitting straight up and down, and then that comes forward while the nose cone comes up. Now the nose cone has some flaps that need flipping as well. I know you're shocked. I know it's funny. It's funny to me too. And this needs to completely swing around as well. So the door needs to swing outward, and the flank piece needs to swing inward. Until they all meet up. And I got some sloppy paint there. I don't like that. I don't like that one bit, I tell you. Same for the other side. This is a tight little joint here. So be careful with how much torque you get. How much leverage. All right, there you go. And there's another thing, right? Yes. So these green panels here, you can see they're on a slider there. They need to slide back. We can get the shoulders down. It would help us tremendously. Because basically, what a disaster. Dude, this is like 2023, like marks the year of the nightmare transformation. All right, so slide it back. We're gonna rotate it to fill out that space, right? Then we also need to make sure that this is sitting flush. And we need to do the same thing on this side. So let's just move some of this out of the way. There we go. And then the nose cone will come up as the wasp head comes down and connect there so that this whole space is relatively filled out. And we're gonna leave that for the time being. Then the arms. So you want to drop them down below. You want to rotate the arm like that, but then you also want the green elbow pad to be on that side as well. So, I mean, I don't know how else to tell you. I guess, you know, if you have this piece down, green to green, screw to screw. The hand, you need to have it so that you can manipulate this whole piece around. And then rotate so that the ball peg is, I think, on the opposite side. Like you want that like that, I believe. But you want this hand to be in a fist on the towards the nose cone. And then you need to just keep track of this, because obviously you see where that's got to go. And you need this shoulder joint to rotate down. And then you want to collapse at the elbow, but open up this door panel here and make sure that that's kind of generally in the right direction. And then keep the elbow sort of tight towards the inside, and then this, you know, towards the front. And we'll kind of stop there for now. Let's do the other side. So, what did we say? Screw, actually this thing, keep this window accounted for. Screw, screw, green, green, and then rotate the hand. The thumb fell off. I'm probably, well, we'll see. Over on the opposite side. And then flip it and reverse it, or chicka chicka nyat nyat, on that side. And then fold the hand to the opposite direction. Collapse the fingers, make a fist. Be accountable for this window here. And then we have to sit the shoulder joint behind itself and use our double jointed elbow. That's not good. Let's just orient that the right way. We'll cheat a little bit. behind the elbow and bring those pieces down. Like I said, we don't have to have it quite yet. I'm going to set the thumb to the side. It doesn't want to be a part of the party. We're not going to force it. All right. All right. So let me reassess real quick. All right. Let's get our windows sorted. So you can move these propellers a bit out of your way if it helps. This armature, once again, double hinged, and it needs to come up and over. Let me see if I can try it on this side. If I have any better luck. See, these green pieces, you know, they don't stay stuck in place. You know, and that's what I got to get this fixed behind. There's a little bit. Why is that not lining up? And like this hole, it's all coming undone. Yeah, I don't know, man. So I got them in, but one of them I cheated. Like this one I didn't. You can see the ball peg is still connected. This one, it popped off the ball peg and I got it in place and then I couldn't get the piece back to it and I said, screw it. All right, so now we're gonna take these pieces and you can tell where they're supposed to go anyway. And we're just gonna try to guide them in. And then we're gonna try the other side. And so far, this is a little bit more of a pleasant experience. There, I mean, that's not 100% together, but it's gonna be close enough. There's some landing gear. I'm gonna go ahead and get that down now. All right, now, and I wish I had done this earlier, flip out these elbow pads that we talked about. And, I mean, I think you probably can tell what's supposed to happen here. Whether or not it's going to is anybody's guess. And I'm only going to mess with this but so much. But on camera anyway. There. Let's see here. There. I got some pieces that have come out up front. This is, like I said, it's a fairly common thing, I feel like, with a lot of these, like, you know, what I've been calling pop-up companies, is like, they don't have what it takes to pull off this level of complicated transformation. And a piece fell out there, but I don't think it's broken. There. All right, so that's the general bit. Obviously, I got to clean that other stuff up. These, you want to make sure that your missiles or whatever are facing forward, obviously. There's that piece. And yes, it is not broken. It just came untucked. What else? The propellers rotate in towards the center, and then you spread out your blades at the top and at the bottom. And that's basically it. Oh, Lord. I'll clean it up. We'll take a look at it. So there it is. Not worth it would be the first thing that came to mind. Actually, this spun out. This is supposed to be... Oh, I guess the kids just got home. The dog's going crazy. Yeah, I mean, propeller at the back doesn't spin. These propellers spin. I do think it is sleek looking. I think it looks cool. It's just, it shouldn't be this, not fun. There's no excuse for that. But it is slick looking. The paint still comes through nicely. It's just like, it's still like, if you just like look at this thing sideways, panels start coming loose, I feel like. So yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not sure if the juice is worth the squeeze on this one, to be honest with you. Beautiful in both modes though, for sure. But let me show you what it looks like next to Tiger Tracks. It shrinks down a good bit, doesn't it? Kind of impressive. By the skin of my teeth. Final thoughts wise, let's start with the negatives. So for one, there's a lot of variation in terms of joint tolerance. If you took his right elbow, for instance, the lower joint, too loose. Upper joint, too tight. Hips, there's two hips. There's that drop down piece, and then there's the proper universal. Proper universal's tolerance properly drop down, a little too loose. So as you go to manipulate one, the other one kind of comes out of sorts. Not the biggest deal in the world, easily fixable while you're manipulating the figure, but something worth noting. To continue on, all the stuff that's on ball pegs has a tendency to be a pain in the nuts. The doors on the shoulders, the fingers, or thumbs rather, on the hand. Once again, just making for a less than favorable experience while manipulating it. And then we'll move on to the transformation. So, and I think we had to be honest, it's not fun. And at a certain point, when you lose the fun element, then you have to ask yourself, well, what am I spending money for? Shouldn't this thing be enjoyable at some level? And I'm not sure that this is. At least in terms of the transformation. And I did have that one paint mishap on the window of Alt Mode 2. Now, obviously, that's individual results will vary, and there's a lot of paint on this guy, so I can see how it could happen. But, yeah, just not a good time, man. Not a good time by any stretch of the imagination. Moving on to the positives, the sculpt is so interesting and looks great. It makes me want to know more about the character. It makes me want to know what the story is. And he looks good reimagined. The paint is fantastic. There's tampo paint, there's metallic paints, translucent plastics, flat paints, glossy paints, all working together to bring off a very interesting look in hand with that sculpt that we just talked about. On top of that, the articulation is top shelf. Double jointed knees, double jointed elbows, ab crunch, waist swivel, double jointed neck, my favorite. Good ankle articulation, etc., etc. It pulls a lot off. Also, the materials feel good, including the die-cast joints, which gives you a premium feel to the overall presentation. And look, while the transformation sucks getting it there, I'd be lying if I didn't say that the alt mode looked good. It looks cool. It's an interesting looking helicopter. We don't get many helicopters looking that way because we can't get many helicopters to be that streamlined. This thing basically turns into a pencil, and there's an element of that that's impressive. And I can definitely admit that, in spite of how terrible it is to get there. So yeah, it's a soft recommend for me. It kind of depends on what you want in a toy. This display factor is pretty great, to be fair, in both modes, but the fun factor is really what's lacking there. A lot of these out of nowhere companies, they really start showing their hand when it comes to the engineering, and this one's no exception. So I hope that helps. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.